All right, here we go. So as far as I can tell, every person in this room wants to retire.
Yeah.
They want to have money to pay for things. And they're probably going to hire a financial advisor to help them.
Good.
And if they do that, they're going to run into your business, Bill.
Likely.
So what is your business, and how is it going to help us do the things we want to do with our life?
Awesome. So co-founder of Envestnet, started the firm in early 2000, so we've been at it for 19 years. Essentially wrote on a card table, first sentence was, we want to level the playing field for all financial advisors to deliver advice that's better aligned with the consumer. And 20 years later, that's what we built. We built it in the cloud. So today we serve 100,000 financial advisors, just shy of 100,000 advisors. Total US market is 300,000. About 11 million investors, $3 trillion on a daily basis. The company generated about $812 million in revenue last year, EBITDA about 158, and we're about a $3.6 billion market cap. We went public in July of 2010. Not a very popular time to go out and go public, but we did it. And we've used that capital really to invest in the business. We've done a bunch of acquisitions over the last 9 years and really built out an ecosystem that empowers the financial advisor to deliver better, more integrated advice that's driving towards this thing that the industry is really getting excited about, which is financial wellness.
So brings up the obvious question. So how do you actually make money? Is it pay for the portal off of data? Are you how does that actually translate into your bottom line?
Yeah, in the beginning, we were pretty disruptive because we built this awesome technology and we essentially gave it to advisors for free and said, in exchange for your client's assets, we're going to bill a fee rate on that technology that we provided. So that's how we started to disrupt the market. You got a platform that was as capable and more agile and flexible than what the wirehouse or the big Wall Street firms could offer, and you got it for free.
And so then, how are you making money?
Well, as part of the client fee, right, the advisor is charging the client, we became a component of that fee to the client. Today, our fee-based business represents about 50% of our total revenue, and then 50% is driven off of, I'd say, seat and license fees. So we're selling technology to advisors, we're selling data packages to advisors to utilize our data services on behalf of clients.
And we talked about this in our pre-chat. We're in a world where whenever somebody says, I sell data, that like raises alarm bells.
Yep.
You have, the Facebooks and the Googles of the world are sort of in this DC look over that issue. How do you look at the line of what kind of data you can sell out, what kind of data is not appropriate, and how do you weigh it on sort of a daily basis with your team on what you're comfortable doing and what your clients are comfortable with that data?
It's remarkable because the impact of data, the collection of data, and then the use of data is happening so quickly. So the rules and framework for how it's utilized is not firmly established. We've spent a lot of time in Washington. We've spent a lot of time pooling industry players together to get standards so that we're all operating at that same high standard, protecting the consumer, protecting their identity, protecting them from a security standpoint, and not selling personal data. So what we do is we utilize our data to power our software. So I think of data as a gasoline. The engine is the software. An individual will collect their credit cards, their bank accounts, their investment accounts through our data engine. We'll push it right into our platform, and very quickly you can have a financial plan that's establishing your path to a retirement. And we're utilizing the data as well with our asset manager partners to help them innovate and price product, design investment product, and then we're also providing de-identified data to portfolio managers who are making investment decisions based on some of our data fields. So we've a clear and cleanly stated data policy, a privacy policy, and I think that's a subject of a lot of debate and a lot of noise over the next couple of years as we get it right. Hopefully, Envestnet continues to be a leader there.
And you mentioned some other, there's obviously the money that you're working with advisors, but that's not where we're eventually going. We're going to eventually go to a place in the platforming of finance where I'm going to make my decisions on insurance, on my home loan, on where I send my kids to school. It's all going to go into one place. And outside looking in, I say, well, I guess Amazon's going to do that because I do half of the things in my life on Amazon anyway. But how are you playing for an inevitable future, and where are we along those lines currently?
So, I see this convergence of financial services. Every consumer has got their daily financial lives. There's stuff that you're spending every day. You're swiping the credit card or tapping the phone. You're earning your paycheck. It's being deposited. You're paying bills. You've got a mortgage. You've got rent payments. You're paying a car payment. This is your daily financial life, and you're managing a cash flow. And you've got this calculation in the in this side of your head, and you're trying to figure it out. Now, we've built FinApp, so that's being tracked automatically. But how does your daily financial life connect with retirement, or sending your kids to college, or thinking about next generations? Trying to keep that in balance is really hard. So what our vision is you take that daily financial life and begin to build applications around it, feed that data to a financial plan that connects to your long-term financial aspiration. As you bring those things together, your purchasing decisions, your earning, the impact of your income, how you're utilizing debt, all come together, Jeff. And so there, you can build a strategy that begins to balance how much you borrow, how much you protect through insurance, and how much you invest, and how you invest it.
It's a little, I mean, look, it is a little scary. Like I watch Mr. Robot and I get a little nervous that like someone's going to tell me everything I need to do. And they're going to look at my entire life and all that information is going to be one place. And I guess I have a fake sense of security that my financial life is in a bunch of different places now. Is that something you worry about as this grows?
Well, I think the benefit to the consumer is how many people have a full picture of their financial lives. They're not many, right? And I think it's really exciting. I've seen the future. I've seen the platforms and the technologies we're building where you're tapping on the screen of your total wealth and moving it to investments, insurance, and credit. And the impact on your financial plan is displaying right in front of you. How powerful is that? So is that incentive, is that motivation, is that value for the consumer to want to bring their data and their financial lives to one place? And then you need a partner who's going to protect the data and integrate that and serve it in a way that benefits the consumer. And so to me, when I look at these future technologies and I see the interactivity and the collection of data in a place where I can understand my entire financial life, I make a decision, what's the impact of that? That is super powerful.
If I think about that data too, the company that probably deserves the most amount of credit for growth in data and information in markets is BlackRock. They have become, in essence, the Goldman Sachs of 2019. They are the firm that controls the most amount of money here. You actually have a unique relationship with them. They own a stake in your company. You guys work together on some of their technology. Talk a little bit about your relationship with them and how that works.
BlackRock's a tremendous firm, right? So you have the asset management part, and they've been brilliant in how they've built that out, including their iShares business, which has become the base ingredient, if you will, in a portfolio for advisors. But they also have invested a tremendous amount in technology and utilizing technology for institutions, for sovereigns, for large pensions and foundations, and that's called Aladdin. And Aladdin's a very sophisticated risk tool. We manage hundreds of billions of dollars on behalf of advisors. They don't have the same infrastructure as the sovereign does to manage that portfolio. So with BlackRock, we're taking a version of that technology, it's called Advisor Center, integrating that into the platform, and each and every day, an advisor can come in and look at those portfolios and understand the risk if the market drops by 10% or goes up by 3%, if gold shifts, if oil shifts, if war breaks out in the Middle East. And they can understand those risks, and they can communicate that to the client, and they can begin to protect the client as things get a little dicey or there's news out there, and they'll have a very strong kind of analytical foundation to make those decisions. So we're super excited about our relationship with BlackRock.
What do you think they get out of working with you? I mean, I know that you have a fiduciary responsibility, so they don't get any preferential shelf space on your platform. What do you think that they're learning from you?
Well, we represent a third of the U.S. financial advisor market and the growing part of the U.S. financial advisor market. So I believe that we represent kind of a beachhead to access something, the independent financial advisor space. I call it confetti because you throw it up and there are offices all across America in small towns and big towns. And really serving those becomes a challenge if you're trying to do it in a consolidated, concise way. Through Envestnet, you kind of have a platform then to distribute back out to this massive distribution, which is, again, a third of the U.S. market.
And then you mentioned this earlier, you've made 2 acquisitions in the last couple of years,
Yep.
BI Tech and Logix. How are those deals working? How are they integrating? And what else do you see as potential places for you to go next?
Right. So the major transactions I'd say we've done over the last couple of years, one was Yodlee, which is a data aggregation capability. It serves about 23 million users on a daily basis. So we were early buyers and believers in data and collecting that daily financial life data with an eye towards pulling that data into a financial plan. Money Guide, or PieTech, has a 35% market share in the U.S. financial planning market. So we're the leader in data ag. We're the leader in financial planning. We're the leader in wealth platforms. As you bring those pieces together, it becomes pretty powerful. The data fuels the plan then informs the strategy. We execute the strategy.
And so what's missing? What do you wish you had under your umbrella that you don't?
I think we're totally in an execution mode. We're pulling those pieces together so that we advance the advisors who are working with us to provide integrated advice. Over the last year, we've begun to seed and invest in some new businesses. So one of those would be an insurance exchange. So on the Envestnet platform will be a pretty broad range of insurance product, fully integrated, tied
And are you
in.
partnering with somebody for that? And who's the reinsurer? How's that
Yeah,
work
so
itself?
the leading carriers in the United States have signed up. It's a great distribution option for them. So as an advisor is building out a financial plan, they don't have to go place to place. They're doing that in an integrated way on the Envestnet platform. And then a credit exchange, the advisor's credit exchange. And that's with, again, leading banks. They're helping securitize loans, non-purpose loans, mortgages, other things that the advisor is going to be able to offer them. So it's a very powerful integration of these capabilities. So the advisor's value proposition changes quite a bit as the overall value of simple investment advice is kind of commoditized. They have to broaden out their advice set so they can be competitive.
And we talked about theoretical regulation from Washington. Let's talk about very real changes from Washington, which is in the coming weeks, we may get a change to the 401k rules in this country.
Believe it or not, bipartisan.
Yeah, it's the only thing.
Yeah.
That and maybe funding 9/11 survivors.
Let's hope.
That's about the only 2 things they can agree on. So we're going to have this legislation. It seems that there are changes along the fringes in the way that we will save, in the way that we will plan for future generations, and when we take money out.
Yeah.
What are the big changes that you see in this legislation when it comes to your business?
Yeah, I think that our advisors are working with a lot of small business owners, and so this is really beneficial to the small business owner. They're going to be able to pool plans across multiple small businesses and really get some scale out of it. So that increases the quality of the investment strategy and also the pricing that consortium will get. So that's a major benefit, and for our client base, these financial advisors, it is a home run. And then there'll be the inclusion of annuity product in there. And so with our insurance exchange, that is going to fit really nicely into our retirement program. So again, advisors who have are advising 401k plans can use the same solution set for that 401k plan that they can use when they sit down and they talk to you as a personal client.
Does it do enough for the growing gig and 1099 workers who are sort of jumping from place to place? It's a little different than small business.
Yeah.
There's a lot. We talked about this on our pre-call. You go into a Starbucks and you see people lined up and working. That is how America is transforming. Does it do enough for that avenue?
I think they're getting there. This bill is more kind of focused on that small business, but attached to that are the gig. Everyone's self-incorporated, so those gig workers are going to be able to set up plans, become part of this overall consortium. Learning curve on how you do it, and it's kind of like when they rolled out the healthcare. It will take some time, but I do think there's a massive benefit there. And hopefully, and they also extended the age and increased the amount of deduction that can take place. So it's a good bill.
And financial advice, kind of like insurance, is sort of a reflection of society as it stands. And we've seen a lot of changes in the demographics of who holds money, who's going to be investing money, who makes money. Right. What is a big change that you're seeing when it comes to the financial advisor and the customer that we should all pay attention to?
The U.S. financial advisor today is not a very diverse set of individuals. They tend to be Caucasian male over 50 years old, and they're serving Caucasian males over 50 years old. So if you look at the wealth brackets, that's who the financial advisor community is engaging. But then if you look at all the demographic data, you have by far and hundreds of basis points more women graduating college than men in Gen X and in millennials, and it's going to continue through Gen Z. And you've got an increasingly diverse population that isn't reflected by our industry. So one of the things we've done, Jeff, is we've gone to college campuses. We've got something called the Envestnet Institute on campus. We're focused on women and people with ethnic diverse backgrounds. And we're teaching them about our industry. And then we're certifying them, and we're putting them into a job bank for them to become future advisors. And I think they're really exciting new business models that will grow through these students. We're kind of coaching them and incenting them along to think about that next generation of advice for their communities and how they begin to package these things. So later today, there's Sally Krawcheck's going to talk about Ellevest. She is leading the way in a very kind of interesting place, which is female led investing.
And are there things that they want that the 50-year-old Caucasian male didn't? Are you seeing types of products that are more engaging to them? Obviously, there's been somewhere between 45 billion and 60 billion like ESG headlines in the last 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Is it more than just ESG? Are there other things you're seeing?
I think it's the engagement model first. The conversation is one of there's a security issue, the idea that they have a different outlook on mortality. And then there is a very strong interest in impact investing. So Envestnet platform is somewhere north of $35 billion that we serve on impact platforms, or we serve an impact platform. And that's an opportunity for an investor to invest with a societal perspective, a cultural perspective, a religious perspective, and then really express that in the investments that they make. And that being incorporated into these platforms, whether it's female-led or it's speaking to a particular community, I think is a very powerful future part of our industry. And that's not only powerful, necessary part of our industry.
So tell me why those people won't just hire robo-advisors and let a computer figure it out.
Yeah, the robo thing is really interesting, but in the future, everybody's going to be a robo and everybody's going to have a human component. Because you can make progress and you can put yourself along the path with a digital advice model. But something is going to happen. You're going to have a kid that's born. You're going to get married. You're going to get divorced. You're going to lose a parent. You're going to sell a business. Your spouse or partner is going to pass away. What are you going to do? Who are you going to turn to? As far as I know today, the digital models do not have empathy and understanding and the experience to really address those things. So advisors will build out and scale their technical and digital environments. So consumers are going to interact with those digital environments more and more. But then in special circumstances or necessary circumstances, the human is going to turn to the expert and they're going to solve and they're going to find an answer.
So this is a perfect launching off point for our overrated, underrated closing session.
Do it.
So I'm going to start with what we just talked about, robo-advisors.
I would say they're overrated. I think the robos today will be good-sized firms, but everyone will become a robo.
Okay. Financial advisors.
Underrated. I think people have written off the human, and the human is necessary.
Orion.
I'm going to say they're underrated. They're in the RIA market. That's a growth market. They're a terrific firm, a good competitor of ours. They have a lot of growing to do.
And then blockchain for asset management.
Underrated, takes some time to really become important, but I think at the end of the day, blockchain will transform our industry in really meaningful, exciting ways.
Well, I can't wait to be transformed. Bill, thank you so much for
All right,
joining
Jeff.
us.
It's good.
And everybody else, have a great day.
All right, great, thank you.